Hello everyone. Welcome to whatever week this happens to be. I've received some comments on my week-long series during the 4th of July week that I wanted to kind of explore further and provide some additional ideas about influencing as a job. Perhaps further delusions, further misguided concepts, further things that people don't know until you're in too deep and you can't get out. So I made some comments about how people pivoted from their original careers to become full-time influencers. And I guess my clarification here is that these are people who did not choose to be influencers at first, right? They chose to pursue a completely different career path of study and then switched to this career path after experiencing the benefits and how they can make money that way, and perhaps finding it a more rewarding work-life balance than the job that they initially chose. However, I would also possibly argue that these people, if presented with the career of influencer, and if it was labeled as, somewhat disingenuous salesperson, would they have wanted to pursue that as a career? Would the benefits be worth the possible compromise of their values if they had to confront that compromise of values at the beginning before they started the job and getting the money? They obviously didn't choose to do traditional sales jobs. They could have, and they didn't. Some of the examples in mind chose to pursue medicine or law or teaching, so they didn't choose sales jobs. And would they have done so if they hadn't kind of organically stepped into it over a period of time, and they'd had to do it in a traditional sense without the mask of creating something or sharing their ideas in a genuine, authentic way that then kind of gives them the facade to work from behind when they sell a product? But I will also say that more people are seeking to be influencers, and I also think that not a lot of people view the job description as having any moral issues. And it's not that I think people need to associate influencing with being unethical or having moral compromises, but I do think it inevitably comes across that way at a certain level, and the reputation of the influencer must be preserved. Right? I think you need to go into it with that goal in mind. Preserving your reputation, preserving your authenticity, still being willing to offer your viewers what they originally come to you for. And if you're a purely sales-based, product-based, openly influencing channel and you've got a following, then great. You do you. It's clearly working. None of these ideas apply, perhaps. But if you are a channel that's not openly sales-based at the beginning, that's based on ideas and concepts rather than physical objects or even service-based things, services, then I think it has to be treated with caution, with more caution than we've been approaching it with thus far, perhaps. I got a comment also about desensitization to advertising and how in the 70s and 80s there were massive TV campaigns of tons and tons of ads with catchy jingles and things. My comment, or kind of counter to that, is I totally agree that we can desensitize ourselves to ads, remind ourselves that we're seeing an ad, not be influenced by ads. All of that is true. But I do think that sponsored ads and influencer videos are more like if you were watching your favorite TV show or your movie or a music video, and the main character, or even a supporting character, some character essential to the plot, stopped what they were doing and said, "Now, let me do an ad break sponsored by blank," and pitched you a product right in the middle of the action of the film or the show or the song. Because that's essentially what the influencer is doing. Again, unless they're a purely product-based channel or a channel that's openly selling all the time, if their title says, hey, this is a video with 10 steps to fix this problem, and that's why you click on it, you're not necessarily expecting, oh, and now a word from our sponsor, Greens powder, or this mattress, or this clothing company, and it may or may not be related to one of the 10 steps, right? It's not disclosed all the time. You're not always expecting it, and you can't always leave before you get there. You can skip, but essentially what I'm saying is that the character who is delivering you the main portion of the content is also delivering you a separately scripted ad. And so, yes, you can desensitize yourself, but it takes a different kind of thought process because it's the same character presenting two different scripts, two different motivations. This character in the main story is motivated to tell you the story, share the advice, give you the ideas, whatever you came for, you thought you were going to get. And this character is here to make some money and sell you something to make that money. But you as a viewer have an investment in watching this character. You wanted to hear their story. You wanted to get what the title and thumbnail told you would get, the things you could see before you opened it up. And you already have some feelings about this character. You might respect their judgment. You might trust them. And then when they come out with this script, it's a little bit different than the show stopping and a different cast of characters or a different production company coming with an advertisement. The ad character is making you take a break from the entertainment character. If it's a production, they're not the same character. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to kind of explore this idea soon about how stuff can be featured in media, videos, content in a non-influencing way. So come back if that sounds interesting. If you feel like subscribing, you can go ahead and do that. I don't usually overtly tell people to like and subscribe, but it is appreciated nonetheless. Now, on influencer businesses, I had a comment about my thoughts on when influencers create a business and then pitch it to the audiences they've built. So they have a large following and they build a business and then they start sharing that business with their followers. I think this is very tricky because you can very easily annoy your audience or make them feel like you're just trying to make money off of them when they came for the free sharing of advice, the free market of what you've been offering. And that way they can start to feel taken advantage of if every time they come to you, they get some kind of pitched product, sponsored ad, some business, link to some outside business, even if it's your own content, even if it's your own self-made business. There are some benefits because at least you are attached to the brand in a direct way, and you are attached to the parent company because it is your product, which is one of the major problems I have with sponsorships and ads in general, is that you as an influencer, or influencers in general, are not tied to the brand and they're not part of the parent company. And so if anything shady happens with those brands and companies, the influencer is in the face of something that they may no longer value, even if the values did align with the channel values when they pitched the product. So I think it could be very dangerous for influencers in that way. But if it is your own product, then you can stand behind it. You can stand behind the quality, vouch for the ethics of your company. All of that is kind of addressed and taken care of. So that is good. And presumably it's always going to align with your values because it'll always be a part of you and what you're making. So the brand loyalty is always going to be there. And I do think it is appropriate to let your audience know if you have a project that might be relevant and helpful to them because it's a part of you. And, if they value you and your ideas and your methods, it might genuinely be of interest. But not to do this in a way that stinks of advertising or is treated like normal sponsorships. I guess in some ways you can even be more overt about trying to sell because it is your product and you are then being a salesperson. And in other ways you can kind of be less overt about it because you're not sponsored, you don't have a script to stick to, you can say what you really think and really mean and reveal details that maybe sponsored content would never allow you or encourage you to reveal. Comparisons, future plans for the product or service, even perhaps the problems with it or the criticisms that you then are hopefully working to improve. So you can provide the insider view, which kind of makes it more valuable to share things that you create. But I do think that it should be an interest-based reference, right? It's never pushed upon the viewer, but it's mentioned in a way where they can follow up if they feel like it fits with their life needs. So in my example, I guess, I play the viola. I try not to say that in a way that's pushy, but for example purposes in this video, I will link something up here where you can go watch me play probably some pop cover if you feel like it, if you feel like that would be entertaining for you. You don't have to, but now you know I play the viola, that's my main job. I'm not going to make money if you watch this video. I don't even have 1,000 subscribers on this channel, so I literally won't make any ad money or anything, so there's nothing in it for me. Maybe that makes it less of a good comparison actually. So let's pretend I was selling you music lessons and I could say, hey, if you need violin or viola lessons or know anybody that needs violin or viola lessons, here's a link where you can sign up or send your friends, and now you know I offer that service, but I'm not trying to say, hey, this is why you might want to sign up for violin lessons. You can get all these benefits and it'll support my channel, it'll support me, and I'll be very grateful and whatever they all say. I worked really hard on this. I studied, I got a master's degree. This is my specialty and my passion, and I hope you enjoy it. So, I mean, none of that is necessarily problematic either, and it's very likely all true. They probably are passionate about what they're selling. But I guess what's gotten me lately is that sometimes I've signed up for a newsletter or an updates letter, and I'm then also signed up for the updates of my newest product letter or the pitch of my online course letter that I didn't ask for. And some creators do let you opt into those things in addition to a newsletter, and I appreciate that because you get the chance to say yes or no. But what I don't like is when you sign up for the newsletter expecting a general update, and then you get an automatic sign up to the product updates and constant updates, reminders, pitches for this course or ad-focused product. You know, a lot of times it's like how to make a YouTube channel. If it's a YouTube creator, they'll get you on a newsletter and then they'll say, hey, I wrote this course about becoming a creator. Hey, I have this productivity lab. Hey, this is how to make money in 4 hours a week, or whatever it might be. And then you unsubscribe from, in my case, both the newsletters and the updates, because it's just too much. It's services that I didn't ask for, and in some cases didn't sign up for. And then, I don't know, in my book, even if you do opt into updates on stuff like that, if it's more than once a week, it does tend to get a little overwhelming. So anyway, in my opinion, if you're treating your business as a service that people may actually need and presenting it on an interest-based level of opting in, it could be totally fine to share with your community online. And even if you've tailored it with your online community in mind when you made it, I think as long as you treat it with caution and respect, respect for people's time and not assaulting them with multiple ads and marketing for the same thing, then I think it could be fine and perhaps even useful and interesting. But I do think that the ratio of the content that they originally came to you for and the ratio of sponsored content or content that features plugs for your own business should be reasonable. Or put it this way, there should at least be some content that is what they came to you for without any of that stuff. That's just my personal preference and opinion though. And I here have a channel where I've decided to never do directly sponsored ads or accept PR for brands I've never heard about and might receive some affiliate commission for. I'm just not interested in doing any of that stuff. My presence here is to combat the rising presence of all that stuff. So again, maybe my opinion is too far to the other side. And I guess my final reason for thinking that the ratio of content should be appropriate or should be reasonable or, call it 50-50 even. I think all content creators are going to have a loyal fan base, smaller group of people perhaps that watch everything that they put out. And I am usually one of those people. If I subscribe to a channel, I usually watch everything, even if I don't need to. I'm getting a little bit better about that because there really are some channels that put out varieties of content where it's like some of it is a little more niche in a direction that I don't necessarily need to watch. But anyway, generally, I've been in that loyal subscriber category. So if you think about it, you should really cater to the people that are your biggest fans, in my opinion, because they've invested the most time and they share your community. They have hung out with you the longest, if that makes sense. And chances are they will see it the first time you have a sponsored ad or the first time you mention your course or your product or your violin lessons. So do they really need to see it 10 more times in the next 10 videos? Thinking about your loyal viewers, the people who have stuck with you the longest and are going to see it every single time. So I understand that mentioning it in new content will reach new viewers, but is that worth annoying the people who've been with you the longest? And in my opinion, no, it's not. So if you're lucky enough to be one of the first 1,000 or under 2,000 people here, under 2,000 club, thank you for being here. If you do consider yourself a loyal viewer, thank you for being here as well. And I promise to keep you in mind, no matter how big this channel might get. You will be the people that I think of first and try not to annoy. And even if you're not part of the first 2,000 club or whatever it is, I'm still trying not to annoy you as a loyal viewer, even as an occasional viewer. Look, I'm just trying not to be annoying, okay? Let's just say. Blanket statement, trying not to be annoying, trying not to be too hypocritical, trying to learn from the things that you pick up that might not be in line with some of my ideas, because inevitably I'm a human and I'm going to be accidentally hypocritical, and it does help me a lot when you point these things out too, or help me see a different perspective. I always appreciate it, even if I may or may not be able to respond to every comment these days. And honestly, part of that's just having a family and getting to spend time with children over the summer. So anyway, those are some little further nuances on the job of influencing, on integrating sponsorships and ads, and on creating your own business and then using your followers to sell that business. All right. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. None of that is necessarily problematic either. None of that is necessarily problematic either.